Still looking at me.
And what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Multitasker, and welcome back again to another reaction. I won't lie. Earlier today was a shit mess with this unbearable heat wave that's just pulling and pushing me down, quote unquote, a fish out of water. I just want my shift to be over as soon as possible because I was so worn out and a lot of pain. Yeah, it just I've never been so exhausted before, but this is just ridiculous. And the worst part is I have to do it again tomorrow. But anyways, I am going to be reacting to the title called Top 10 Wrestlers Retired in Their Prime, and this is from Shadow. So let's make it worth. In 3, 2, 1, it's time to react.
You'd think that wrestlers would be pleased to call it a day. It's a punishing life clocking in and out of the office when your office isn't a desk but really a load of desks flattened and fashioned into a 20 by 20 square with a thin layer of canvas on top. It is admittedly a job that expedites aging and wear and tear. With each dangerous bump and chance taken, a wrestler's career shortens that little bit more, and often these larger-than-life superstars struggle to get out before their bodies are substantially broken. These, for the most part, are not those wrestlers. This lot all managed to get out of the Big E, no, not that one, at the peak of their powers. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE wrestlers who retired in their prime. Number 10, CM Punk. Only in wrestling could a retirement be all but confirmed by an instantly memeable red carpet rant. But CM Punk's never ever wail when asked in 2014 if he'd be returning to WWE several months after his acrimonious departure reflected yet another significant severance of a once financially fruitful relationship. CM Punk, WWE superstar, really does appear to be retired for good, despite the fact that he now calls WWE backstage home. Or at least he's being paid enough to justify being around a company he has openly despised for so long. He retired as one of the top draws in the company, and went on to physically preserve himself by taking part in a rather forgiving sport, which didn't involve him being butchered in the middle of an octagon for the world to see. If only.
Yeah.
Number 9, Trish Stratus. The fleeting Trish Stratus comebacks over the past few years have solidified one thing. She was bang right to retire in 2006 with her health and well-being intact. A gifted, natural talent during a period in which much of her skill set wasn't even valued in the way it should have been, Stratus's appearances amongst the women of the current era have been a joy to behold. Not short a step for her decade plus away, the former women's champion has managed to enjoy the fruits of her labour and that of those that followed in her footsteps. The decline following her exit was sharp and unpleasant, but she virtually missed all of it, starting her own business and a family with the time and financial freedom she'd accrued as a battle-worn WWE star. Number 8, Lita. Lita's exit just 2 months after Trish Stratus's may as well have happened in an alternate universe. The Toronto and Philadelphia locations were all that separated Unforgiven and Survivor Series respectively in 2006. But the booking team weren't exactly keen on being kind the second time around. Unlike Trish, Lita was beaten. Unlike Trish, Lita's match wasn't positioned in a position of prestige. Unlike Trish, Lita's underwear was stolen and sold to the crowd by babyfaces to send her on her way. And her absence didn't just make fans' hearts fonder for the former Team Extreme star. It created a mutual feeling from the woman behind the gimmick herself. Amy Dumas walked away from wrestling entirely, seemingly rather happily so, until wrestling finally called her back in the midst of WWE's women's revolution. Number 7, The Rock. There are several moments between 2001 and 2003 that could be classed as points at which The Rock became Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in his own mind. But each elective exit finds the Great One still in a seemingly never-ending prime. There's the Raw after WrestleMania X7, a night removed from headlining what was then the biggest and best pay-per-view in the company's history. There's his summer 2002 departure after putting Brock Lesnar over clean as a sheet for the WWE WWE Championship. He lost to Booker T, the Hurricane, and Bill Goldberg as a part-time heel in 2003. He gave everything to a ripper of a handicap match with Mick Foley at 2004's WrestleMania 20. Each one selfless but no less satisfying. The Rock spent 4 years retiring just to ensure the company and the audience enjoyed the benefit of his presence whilst they both still could. It took a long 7 years before he came back for a 3-year WrestleMania arc against John Cena that sucked in The Miz, CM Punk, and others. But the Hollywood megastar that returned from the silver screen was by this point more of a made man than any sports entertainment escapee in history. Number 6, Molly Holly. One of the finest moments from any WWE Hall of Fame ceremony in recent years occurred during Beth Phoenix's long recollection of a relatively young life and career well lived. Buried deep within the anecdote, she noted how Molly Holly had paid for her wrestling training in an unsolicited gesture of goodwill due to Beth's efforts. It was a touching tribute to a person that appeared from the outside to be one of the nicest to have ever entered the industry, doing everything she could afford for those still traversing through it. It also spoke to how careful she'd been with her money during her prime earning years. Holly got in via WCW's Mad Money Machine in 1999, but rapidly improved her work rate to the point where she was far too good for a flailing and failing female division. A steady hand for WWE from 2000 through to her 2005 departure, she left wrestling full-time to focus on other pursuits, but took with her a raft of enjoyable matches and angles that ensured that fans would still pine for her occasional one-off returns. Number 5, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper's WrestleMania 3 retirement was an earnest attempt by the Hot Scot to leave wrestling behind and try and break into Hollywood for good. Baby-faced after years as the hottest heel in the territory, Piper left the Pontiac Silverdome as an industry icon, accepting the end of his full-time career years before he perhaps needed to. Spending an entire second career as a part-time wrestler after his 1989 return, Piper's effort to exit 2 years prior was earnest in its intention. Early signs were promising too. They Live was a bona fide cult classic, with Piper's performance praised in particular. Failed projects such as Hell Comes to Frogtown were steps too great in the wrong direction though, and his true calling always giddily came back on the strength of his original drawing power. Number 4, Paige. Old enough to know better, but young enough not to care. Paige was giving her body to wrestling before she was even born, but the 25 years she'd spent taking bumps sadly culminated in her being forced into retirement at, well, 25. Tragic in its timing, Paige had barely returned from an extended injury absence in late 2017, before absorbing a hard kick to the neck that re-aggravated substantial problems she'd dealt with for many years. Tear-soaked, Paige bid the ring farewell in the same building she debuted on the WWE main roster in 2014. The comeback had been all too brief for anybody to digest, though she'd at least spent long enough on the roster to ensure there'd be space for her to thrive in other roles post-retirement. Number 3, Corey Graves. Corey Graves was forced to tearfully bid farewell to his in-ring career on air, but it was as much an effort to aid his rehabilitation and reinvention as an NXT commentator in the aftermath of the devastating news he had to deliver. It was during the TakeOver Revolution special in December 2014 that he explained the extent of the head injuries that kept him absent from in-ring action for several months, all while suiting up behind the desk in place of smashing opponents through it. Graves made the change appear seamless, settling into his spot as a superb colour analyst for what was by then one of the hottest products in the world. He was becoming the voice of every scintillating TakeOver special. Indispensable to the company's output at large, he was stationed on Monday Night Raw's team as part of a 2016 aesthetic overhaul following the relaunched brand split. A trusted McMahon soldier with a headset, he's remained one of the lead voices in the company. Number 2, Dean Ambrose. John Moxley's inspired New Japan Pro Wrestling debut was perhaps one of the best in wrestling history, not least because he spent much of the match bidding farewell to Dean Ambrose. WWE couldn't have been nicer about the retirement of a much-loved character. It was almost as if they didn't believe he'd follow through with his intent to exit. His maiden New Japan Pro Wrestling match was one of several confirmations that his departure was for keeps. He failed to break a table with the intended original spot, but caught himself realizing he could just do another spot to smash it up instead. Opponent Juice Robinson kicked out of his Dirty Deeds DDT, forcing Moxley to debut a spiked Death Rider version to claim the United States title. In his first match, he smiled a sickening smile between the moves. Dean Ambrose really had retired, and perhaps he may be gone forever. Number 1, AJ Lee. Former longest reigning WWE Divas champion, the award was taken from her for reasons that are about to become clear. AJ Lee was a more crucial component in driving forward the women's revolution than the company will ever give her credit for. Not only because of her on-camera incinerations of the crappy state of the league at the time, but also the brave manner in which she tried to smash pay scales and archaic structures by herself. Challenging the patriarchy backstage and Stephanie McMahon on Twitter, Lee went for everybody she could reach, whilst working beyond rock-bottom expectations whenever the company gave her matches time. The definition of this list title more than just about anybody else in it, Lee had her prime years remaining to perfect one of her passions, but instead decided to walk away in 2015 just after her 28th birthday. AJ has remained almost entirely absent from the wrestling industry, despite relentless rumor-mongering that she will one day return, possibly in line with husband CM Punk's own improbable return to company shores.
Well, there you have it, folks. And to be fair, I would love to see AJ Lee just for one more time, just to see her, just to see where they're gonna pitch her of the storyline. So that remains to be seen, and more importantly, CM Punk as well. But that will be another time, because with Backlash is going to be just moments away, because I cannot wait to see Edge to get in the ring with Randy Orton. So let's see if we can. Okay, wait. Well, there you have it, folks. And I will say that it's been too long we haven't seen AJ Lee Well, there you have it, folks. And to be fair, it's been too long we haven't seen AJ Lee for a long time. And I hope there is a pitch for her into the storyline and CM Punk, because we all wanted to see him just for one more match. Even if it is just one, that's fine. I don't care. And speaking of which, I cannot wait to see Edge and Randy Orton in the greatest match in Backlash. So that's all I got to say. So nice order of the top 10 list. So this is where I'm going to end this video. So hit that like button, and also leave a comment down below. And also don't forget to give support to WalkCulture.com and their channel. And with that, I'll catch y'all in the next video. So peace out, everyone, and good night.